Alrighty lads, we are back. This time with some Elder Scrolls lore. It's because a certain subscriber by the name of Frederick donated me $2. So yeah, that's right, I'm a $2 whore. That's me. Mwah. I love it. So, Clavicus Vile. I always like this god, mostly because he's not evil. He's malicious, but he's not evil, and there is a difference between the two. You see, Clavicus Vile may do bad things, but he does bad things at your whim. He twists what you desire. He bargains and he gambles. This is a god that you can actually beat, whereas any other god that we talk about in the Elder Scrolls universe, you cannot beat. This guy, though, you can. So, this kind of boils down to it. Who is Clavicus Vile? To put it very interestingly, Clavicus Vile is a god of pacts, agreements, and bargains. So as such, many of his followers tend to be merchants, tend to be ambassadors, tend to be rulers, people who make bargains, pacts, and agreements. Anyone who does so makes a deal usually with Clavicus Vile. Some of them are secret worshippers of Clavicus Vile, because after all, he's a daedra. He's not supposed to be worshipped. You're supposed to worship the Aedra, not the daedra. So, Clavicus Vile being a god of deals, he's not the god of commerce, but he is the god of deals. And a lot of times if you want to make a successful business, whether that is starting a corporation or maybe possibly starting a new trade agreement, you may whisper under your breath, by Clavicus Vile, please let this deal go through. Please, I will give you my soul in exchange for this deal. And you may not realize it, but you accidentally entered into an agreement. So now when you die, your soul will go to Clavicus Vile's realm, known as the Field of Regrets. The Field of Regrets is actually just that. It looks like a beautiful, tranquil field, full of cities that are more or less just giant towers. And inside those towers is pretty much nothing but glass. It's just ornate. It looks pretty. And I think that's kind of a good summarization of Clavicus Vile, is that he offers you really pretty and really tempting deals, but inside they're really hollow. And this is where Clavicus Vile is so interesting as a character. Yeah, that's right. We're going to talk about him as a character too, baby. Oh yeah. You see, Clavicus Vile is a daedra, just like all of them. He's immortal, long-lived. He doesn't really understand mortals that well, and he finds them fun to toy with. He finds them particularly enjoyable to give bad deals to. Something that's very interesting with Clavicus Vile is that he tends to skew your deals and your wishes into very funny, humorous situations. One example everyone knows about is Skyrim. Skyrim, a wizard wished and made a deal with Clavicus Vile that he will have a cure for his daughter's werewolfism. Clavicus Vile gives him an axe that kills werewolves. Great. This is the kind of stuff that Clavicus Vile is known for. One particular instance is the Mask of Clavicus Vile. This is a very powerful daedric artifact, and it's in just about all the Elder Scroll games. It's a very heavy piece of helmet, but essentially what it does is it makes you improve your personality and your charisma, so that way everyone likes you. But the story goes is that a woman who was horribly disfigured needed a mask so that way people could respect her and love her. Well, he gives her the mask, and all of a sudden, people barely noticed the mask. They just all of a sudden really loved her. They couldn't explain why. They just really gravitated towards this woman, that she was just this amazing figure, despite the fact what lies beneath the mask. Well, on her wedding day, exactly like a year later, Clavicus Vile's deal ran out, and he's like, oh, it's the end of our deal. It's time for me to get the mask back. And he takes it back from her in a snap on the day of her wedding. And of course, the moment it's her wedding, right? The worst timing in the goddamn world. So now everyone sees how ugly she is and they're just freaking out. Even the guy she was marrying kicked her out of his realm. And yeah, that was a really interesting situation, let me tell you that much. But you may see this as like a common theme with Clavicus Vile, is that he agrees to a deal with you and you end up losing more than what you gained. And this is kind of something that I want to talk about, why it's more about Clavicus Vile's personality rather than anything else. It's not that he's a daedra, therefore he's evil. It's more about his perceptions on mortals and why he finds them so humorous. If anything, I would say Clavicus Vile is the ultimate comedian. He's very interested in mortality only because of the fact that mortals have very little to really gain in their lives. They have very little in their scope of power, but yet they give away what they have so willingly. And this, to someone who's an immortal being, is just so curious. Like, Clavicus Vile may give you an ultimate artifact like the Mask of Clavicus Vile, but it's not a good deal for you because the mask is imbued with Clavicus Vile's energy. It will return to him back into the daedric plane at some point in some time. So in other words, Clavicus Vile isn't losing anything in this deal, but anything that you give to Clavicus Vile is a loss. You'll never recover that. This is something that Clavicus Vile finds so interesting, is why are these mortals making deals when they have so much to lose and very little to gain? This is why Clavicus Vile always is laughing to himself and always amused by people's wishes and their desires. He always finds it very interesting what it is that they want. He always finds it very interesting to what is it that they need. Like, for example, if you play Skyrim, you may play as a Dragonborn and you may say, I want more power. And Clavicus Vile will chide you. He goes, you're a Dragonborn, mate. You got the ultimate power in the world. Like, literally, you can do anything you want. So what more can I give you? This is an instance where Clavicus Vile really can't do much about it. And it's one of those moments, too, that Clavicus Vile is being honest with a mortal. He's like, listen, there's not much I can give you. On the other hand, he may scheme and he may end up screwing someone whose life is let's say, the Bitter Cup. Let's go with the Bitter Cup. So the Bitter Cup, for those of you who do not know, is a daedric artifact of Clavicus Vile. When you drink it, it increases your highest stat by 20 points, but it decreases your lowest stat by 20 points. Isn't that an interesting deal? And it's whenever you drink from the Bitter Cup. So, what exactly does that mean for you? Is that you're entering into a bargain, you're entering into a gamble. Because, mind you, people are not video games. We don't know what our lowest stat may be. Like, right now, you could be someone who goes to the gym frequently, so your strength and your endurance might actually be higher than your other stats. You might not be that smart as you thought you were. You might be just average. So you're looking at 50 intelligence and maybe 55 strength, 60 endurance, something like that. But you may have poor willpower. In other words, whenever people pitch to you new ideas about what you should do with your life, you easily go with the flow and go, yeah, it sounds like a good idea. Let me do that instead of what I thought I was going to do. You may also have really bad luck. You may just have 44 luck, so you always get screwed with bad chances. And you drink from the Bitter Cup. Well, you might increase your endurance by a lot. Now all of a sudden your bones barely break, or your muscles are so massive that you can easily bend a door in half. But what if it was your intelligence that was your lowest stat? Well, now you're basically drooling. Your intelligence is down to single digits. Great. Or what if your willpower was your lowest? Well, now you're a dependent personality disorder because you need everyone to approve and guide you on what to do with your life. You're so weak in your will that you can't go about and make your own decisions. You need someone else to come over and tell you, oh, you should wear this for the morning. Oh, you should eat this for breakfast. Oh, you should do this. That's how weak your will is. You can't make your own decisions for yourself. It's not that you're not smart. It's that you just don't have any willpower to make and commit to any decisions that you make by yourself. Now, what if it's your luck? What if your luck is your lowest stat and you didn't even know it? Now you drink from the Bitter Cup, and now everything that you do just seems to utterly fall in shambles. Like, let's say you go, withdraw your money from the bank, and the moment you do, the economy just recovers, and now all that money you withdrew just got screwed, because now it's going to cost you money to re-put it back into the bank. What if you just got a new job, and the moment you get to your job, you arrive 30 minutes early, and then the boss who sees you, he goes, oh, you don't have a job here, sorry. And you go, what? Why do I not have a job here? I arrived 30 minutes early. And he points to some new employee and he goes, this guy arrived 35 minutes early. He keeps the job because he got here early. He's more committed than you are. See you later. Better luck next time. It's like, yeah, better luck next time. I got no luck. What if you decide to, for example, marry a woman who really seems that she was interested in you, and then upon marrying her, you realize that you were just unlucky. You didn't see the signs that she was actually in it for your money. That once she had a kid with you, she just wanted, all the payments. It's like, oh no. Just about every deal that you've ever made is now unlucky as hell. It's because you drank from the bitter cup. This is something that a lot of people are warned about when it comes to Clavicus Vile, is whatever deal he offers you, you're usually going to lose more than what you gain. And the reason why is because ultimately you are mortal. Whatever Clavicus Vile gives you, he can take. Whatever you give to Clavicus Vile, you cannot get back. It's very interesting, and I find it a very concept for a god. But what's so interesting is why people worship him. People worship him because they sometimes need a good aspect of life. If you've been poor your whole life, your family's been poor, and finally you worked hard, and now you're 60 years old and you finally managed to start your own winery, you will beg, plead, and give anything in your life to make sure this winery becomes successful and that this winery passes through your generations so your kids and your great grandkids never have to worry about being poor ever again. So yeah, you may strike up a deal with Clavicus Vile. Say, Clavicus Vile, I'll poison the first batch of my wine, but in exchange, I want my wine to become the most popular wine on the shelves for the next 100 years. Clavicus Vile may go, that's interesting. You're willing to kill a bunch of people who taste it first. And then in exchange, I'll make your wine become the most sweetest wine in the world. So everyone's just drawn to it and just can't help themselves. I accept that deal. Of course, now you realize that you're going to be under arrest and you're going to spend the rest of your final days in jail, probably tortured, especially depending who you killed. Like if you killed the count or a king of a city, you're probably going to get tortured before you die. But at least you passed your deal. At least you passed your bargain. And that's ultimately what Clavicus Vile may decide. And he may find it very amusing because he'll make that deal last exactly 100 years. And it may be the best wine, but it's only because it's magically enchanted. Once he gets rid of his enchantment, people realize that your winery kind of tastes bad. It's more or less average. It's just cheap wine, essentially. And now your family goes back to poverty, but now they're stuck with this financial burden of a bankrupt winery. And now the legal system may catch up and say, hey, you remember all those deaths? Yeah, we finally have enough evidence now to show that it was not just the owner who did it, but it was the whole factory is contaminated, now needs to be shut down. It could be a really bad deal. But again, this is what Clavicus Vile is. He finds it amusing. He finds it interesting. And for someone like you, such a short-term goal may actually be what you want. And for your kids, they may decide, this winery is doing great, but I should probably specialize into something different. I should probably become a doctor, or I should become an ambassador, or I should do something else with my life. So that way when the winery does go to shit, it's not affecting them. They actually got the most from Clavicus Vile's deal is by not actually participating in it. There is something else that we should mention, is the Fields of Regret. I kind of don't like the way Elder Scrolls Online does it, but it's an MMO. So essentially just, hack and slash, fight your way through. I kind of wish that they did it where the demons are just essentially a bunch of genies, where the demons in the Field of Regret are just that. They provide you bargains and deals. Like they may go to you and they may say, oh, you want inside the sanctum? Well, tell you what, you round up a few human slaves for me, and I'll give you passage into the inner sanctum. I'll grant your wish. And so you do that. You go get a bunch of slaves and you go, here, I found some slaves hiding in the forest. Here you go. And he goes, okay, and what did you want again? I want to be deeper into the sanctum. Deeper, you say. Okay, wish granted. Boop. And now you're teleported into the basement floor, stuck for all eternity in this basement. Yep. I would love to see that. I would love to see that more than anything else. That the best way to survive the Field of Regret is to not engage at all. The best way to get through Clavicus Vile's realm is to not talk to anybody. Just go about your business, no matter how tempting the deals may be. Like, one demon may look at you and say, hey, I have this huge amount of gold sitting here, and I'm willing to give it to you. But in exchange, I want you to bring this into the world. And if you bring this into the world, I can be free. And it turns out all the gold that you brought with you is actually just a piece of his body. So once he's brought into the world outside of Clavicus Vile's realm, and now he's wreaking havoc with mortals, your gold that you were carrying just disappears, because it turns out it was part of his body. And he did give it to you. He did live up to his bargain. He gave you part of him. But now, because you didn't realize it, that was literally a part of him, and now it's gone. So I would love to see that, like demons who engage in Clavicus Vile type trickery and mischievous bargains, and sometimes that they could be beneficial. But overall, that's the reason why people worship Clavicus Vile. That's the reason why people make pacts with Clavicus Vile, is more because of short-term goals that they really, really need for their career, for their life. But in the end, it may cost them their future. And it's something that Clavicus Vile is more than amused with, more than interested in. He's more curious than anything. And out of all the daedric gods, he is, of course, the most willing to engage with you. You may praise Sheogorath, you may praise Malekith, but no matter how much you praise them, they'll never come down and talk to you. Clavicus Vile, on the other hand, is an eager listener. He is more than willing to come down and listen to your plight and make a deal with you. Besides that, this has been Freezer 700. I hope you guys all enjoyed. Besides that, see you guys next time.